ਸੁਵੇਗ ਸਿੰਘ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੇ ਹਾਕਮ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਤੇਰਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਮੁਸਲਮਾਨ ਬਣਨ ਲਈ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਸੀਸ 'ਤੇ ਹੱਥ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਜਪਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਪਾਠ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗਲਤ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਤੇਰੀ ਕੁਲ ਬਚ ਜਾਏਗੀ। ਉਹਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਕਹੀ ਸੀ, ਉੱਥੇ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਖੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ, ਹਮ ਕਾਰਨ ਗੁਰ ਕੁਲ ਹੈ ਗਵਾਈ, ਹਮ ਕੁਲ ਰਾਖੇ ਕੌਣ ਵਡਾਈ। ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ ਵਾਰ ਗਏ। ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਾਤ ਦਾ ਹੰਕਾਰ ਕਰਾਂ, ਇਹ 'ਚ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਵਡਿਆਈ ਆ। ਸੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨਾਲ ਅਟੈਚਮੈਂਟ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ, ਆਪਣੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਅਟੈਚਮੈਂਟ ਛੱਡ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਧਰਮ ਦੇ ਰਸਤੇ 'ਤੇ ਤੁਰਿਆ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ। ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਗੱਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਈ ਹੈ, ਗੱਲ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਘਰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੀ ਹੈ। ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਦਿਵਨੂਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੱਸਲ। ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ ਗੁਰਅਸੀਸ ਕੌਰ ਅਟਵਾਲ।
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. A few weeks ago, my English class finished reading the novel 1984 by George Orwell. It described a society where government controls what people say, think, and even believe. Orwell defines tyranny as a system where power becomes absolute, a place where the government seems to follow every move, every opinion, and every thought. Orwell described it as a dystopian story, but it has never been fictional. It exists whenever and wherever power tries to control the truth and freedom. We've seen it in history and we see it today. One historical example of this kind of tyranny happened in the 17th century India, where Emperor Aurangzeb sought to convert the entirety of India to Islam. Those who refused were persecuted, tortured, and killed. Temples were destroyed, sacred places were looted, and mosques and masjids were built in their place. It was an attempt to erase diversity and identity, exactly how George Orwell describes regimes changing reality through external force. During this devastating time, the Kashmiri Pandits, desperate to save their religion, turned to Shivji in prayer. According to the traditional Sakhi, they asked, "Who can protect us from this tyranny, this zulm?" And Shivji replied, "No worldly power, no king, and no army could save you. Only the divine light of Guru Nanak's house could defend truth at such a dark age." Guided by Shivji's word, the Kashmiri Pandits traveled to Anandpur side. They reached Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji and sought help to preserve their religion. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji told everybody that this tyranny could only be stopped if a Mahapurush attained Shahidi or gave their Balidan. Bal Gobind Rai spoke, "There is no one else great enough for this task, only you can do it." And then Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji decided to sacrifice himself. A Pankti I relate this to is Jako koi na rakhe prani, tis tu de asrao. That mortal whom no one can protect, you bless him with your support, O Lord. Support of the unsupported, saving grace of the unsaved, home of the homeless. He stood as a voice for the voiceless, the defender for freedom of all, which gave him the title of Hindi Chadar, which means shield of India. When the Kashmiri Pandits came to him, Guruji had no political obligation to protect them, no personal gain or advantage, but he stepped forward because someone had to come there and defend freedom. In Delhi, Aurangzeb demanded Guruji to either convert to Islam or perform a miracle to prove his divine connection. But Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji refused. 3 other Sikhs, by Mati Das Ji, by Sati Das Ji, and by Dayala Ji, were brutally tortured in front of Guru Sahib to instill fear. But Guruji remained unmoved. By Mati Das Ji was sawn alive while reciting Japji Sahib. By Dayala Ji was boiled alive, and by Sati Das Ji was wrapped in cotton and burnt. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji remained calm and offered his head in exchange of freedom of religion. Their Shahidis proved that you cannot end a principle by ending the body that carries it, and the truth is always greater than tyranny. In Rag Sword Salokmala Nawa, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji wrote, "Peh kahu ko detne na pe manatan," one who does not frighten anyone and who is not afraid of anyone else. I think this best describes Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's fearless spirit. Even when he was imprisoned, tortured, and beheaded in Chandni Chowk, Guruji did not waver. Guru Gobind Singh Ji also wrote about his father's sacrifice in the Bachittar Natak. Tilak Janju Rakha Prabtaka Kino Badu Kalu Mesaka. He protected the forehead mark, the tilak, and the sacred thread of the Hindus, the Janju. And it marked a great event in this age of Kaljug. Sadhan het itti jin kari, sees diya par si na uchri. For the sake of saints, he laid down his head without even a sign of pain. Taram het saka jin kiya, sees diya par sirar na diya. For the sake of dharma, righteousness, he sacrificed himself, he laid down his head, remained uncompromising in his principles. Natak chetak kiye kakaja, prab logan ke avat laja. The performance of miracles and malpractices is condemned by the saints of Lord. Shri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji refused to show the miracle to avoid the death sentence. Guru Gobind Singh Ji writes that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji protected the tilak and the janju, which weren't even his own symbols, but were protected regardless. Guruji's Shahidi was a universal stand for freedom and human dignity. He describes how Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji refuses to perform a miracle and showed great courage through his sacrifice. Modern tyranny doesn't always have to look like dictatorships or military coups. Today, it is often shown through laws, policies, and political attitudes that are very subtle in restricting people's rights. While claiming to protect unity or security, in the United States, for example, the rising of book bans, attacks on minority faith groups, and surveillance of activists show how democratic systems can weaponize power against certain groups of people. Canada also likes to present itself as a proud multicultural nation, but policies like Quebec's Bill 21, which prevents individuals from wearing visible religious symbols, creates a climate where minorities like Sikhs, Jews, and Muslims are forced to choose between identity and career. India has also started drifting away from democracy with increasing crackdowns on minorities and journalists. Even though each one of these countries claims to uphold freedom, those examples reveal a quieter and more subtle form of tyranny. Governments use legal, political, and cultural pressure to limit religious expression and to silence criticism. So what can we do to stop this? In the face of tyranny, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji was calm and brave. Guru Sahib showed that real leadership means standing up for what's right of others, even when you yourself are not the target. His Shahidi was not for Sikhs alone. It was the freedom of all people to practice their faith without fear. Today, following Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji means refusing to stay silent. And if any community is oppressed, we must stand up for it. Whether it is religious minorities in India, Muslims facing discrimination in the West, or Indigenous people fighting for their rights in Canada. It means educating ourselves, calling out injustices in our schools, communities, and any institutions that uphold this tyranny. It means educating ourselves and supporting policies that protect freedom of expression and building solidarity across different groups. Guru Sahib taught that moral courage is not loud or violent. It is the willingness to speak the truth, defend the vulnerable, and hold power accountable. Thank you. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.